Welcome to another edition of the Sports Web halftime edition as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are losing to the New Orleans Saints 31-0. Live here at the Deck Bar and Grill. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49. Guys, I don't know what to say. I mean, honestly, it's pretty academic at this point. Drew Brees, 18 for 23, 189 yards, 3 touchdowns. No answer by both sides of the ball. In fact, all 3 facets of this team right now have been completely awful. I mean, but besides not only Tom Brady throwing an interception right before the half, and you looked at me and you said, this is the reason why you don't bring a player in that doesn't necessarily know the system. 2 interceptions already by Tom Brady, which snaps the streak. Threw one earlier on in the game, 200 passes, longest in the NFL. A tip pass, but this right here was just miscommunication. Overall, all sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams have been equally awful. Let's go out to the guys here. Guys, I'm completely and totally dumbfounded by the effort. We thought coming into this game, and of course what you're watching right now is the Sports Web Live on Bucs Report. We thought this effort wasn't going to necessarily carry over from Monday night, but that's exactly what it did. 3 and outs to start the game, 3 and outs, no answer at all for Drew Brees. We talked about it. You have to get pressure on him. Absolutely no pressure. Missed tackles all over the place. And the game plan, I don't know what this game plan is. It kind of reminds me of when John Gruden used to coach the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they went to the Meadowlands, and they threw the ball with the greatness of Bruce Grakowski 41 times against the wind. No semblance of running game, no game plan at all. Have at it.
Well, at this point, Harry and I were talking about, we wish they would have established the run a lot earlier because you would have had them playing a little bit on their heels. Instead, the Saints, like you said, they started hitting us with those tight ends across the middle, softened the outsides, dinking and dunking, and that's exactly what Drew Brees is doing to us.
Well, the observation that I gave you last week, and I was hoping they weren't going to do it in the first half of this game, is they looked really flat, and they weren't running the football. You've got to give your defense a little bit of time to rest up. But I honestly think in the second half, that the Bucs are actually going to try to run the football, even being down by as many points as they are.
It's not too late because just keep on throwing the ball. It's just not working. It seems like they're digging that hole deeper and deeper. I'd like to see them establish the run, not so much just to stop the bleeding, but to even give themselves a fighting chance in the second half.
I mean, right now, the way they're playing, they have no shot, Blake. I mean, I don't know where to go at this point. I mean, you look at the defense. They've gotten no pressure. We talked about it over and over again. You also talked about having one-on-one coverage with your wide receivers. You look at the numbers right now. I mean, Brady, 11 for 22, 96 yards. He's completely off. The pressure seems to be getting there once again. The usual suspects are on display in the Donovan Smith, who hasn't been able to do anything, versus a Hendrickson. I've never even heard of this guy. And Donovan Smith should be giving his check to him because the guy's dominating the game. Cam Jordan, I mean, it's just pathetic. I mean, there's just nothing more you can say about it. 31-0 on Sunday Night Football. You're absolutely getting your ass kicked.
I think you put it in a great point. I mean, I'm not no defensive coordinator by a far stretch of the means. I've never coached in the league, but I pretty much served you guys and them the game plan what the Saints were going to do on third down, and they did exactly what I said they were going to do. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as I also said in the pregame, you have to be creative to find ways to get these guys open. You started to on that 3rd and 2 where you ran Antonio Brown, and the motion you created a natural pick for him to get the first down. I hope in the second half that Byron Leftwich will figure out some other ways to get these guys involved, to figure out some way to alleviate some pressure, because you dialing up vertical passes on a team where you can't get protection is like Albert Einstein says, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
How many rushing yards or rushing attempts do they have in this game?
The Saints or the Bucs?
Bucs.
Well, let's take a look at that, Peter.
I'm going to say 4.
You going with 4? What are you going with?
I would say 6.
They got total of 3 attempts.
3 attempts. So let me get this straight. The greatness of this offense, which, by the way, has been somewhat balanced. Will we not agree? When they're balanced, I mean, it doesn't matter what quarterback you got there. If you're not a balanced offense, and now you're in a big-time hole, so you got to look at this game plan. But when you're not a balanced offense and you're letting the defense make you one-dimensional, and then on top of it, you're letting your quarterback get pressured. I mean, they're not killing it with sack numbers, but they're just getting enough pressure in his face where it disrupts the timing. And you see this. If he just had maybe 1 split second or 2 more seconds to throw the ball, maybe you would see some deep passes. Guys, you look at the Gronk pass. If he has just maybe 1 or 2 more seconds to complete that pass, that's a possible touchdown. But instead, the timing tonight for Brady in this offense is completely off.
Let me tell you this, Peter. Even if the Bucs, Harry, maybe you agree with me, even if the Bucs had managed to keep to score at all, but had managed to keep pace with this score, but their defense spending as much time on the field in that first half, the Saints would be winning by right of the fact that they're wearing down this defense. Those guys look like they've been running gassers for days out there right now. The defense should be suing the offense for a lack of support. And I mean that literally, right?
Yeah,
I agree. And I'm going to sound like a broken robot. When you don't run the football, this is what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens. Right. And I mean, you look at the wide receivers on this team right now. I mean, Evans, 1 for 22. He catches one. Looks like they got some momentum, and then Brady throws the interception. Godwin, 2 for 27. He isn't 100%. And you got Brown, who is very talented, but we talked about it. You know, they have communication, but here's a player who hasn't been in the league in 1.5 years, and then on top of it, he's trying to basically learn the nuances of this offense. I don't care if you work with Bruce Arians or not. It's just not a good game on all sides of the ball. Punter Bradley Pinion hasn't been good tonight. You're not getting good field position with your kick return game by Jaden Mickens. I mean, there's so many list of things that the Bucs right now are doing wrong. Let's see if they can turn it around really quick. Let's go out to Rick Hughes. He has some thoughts on this. Rick Hughes, let's go out to you here. What do you see in this game besides the obvious? The Bucs, offensively, defensively, and special teams decided not to show up tonight on primetime television.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a Bucs fan at all for any length of time, this feels familiar. Look, this is coaching. There's no way I'm not putting this on the players. This is 100% coaching. What the heck are they doing? It's like they decided to take everything they've done successfully all year and say, yeah, let's not do that. I mean, this is I don't know how else to word it. I mean, this is coaching. I don't think it's because of Antonio Brown. I don't think it's because there's another player in there. This is not. They don't. Antonio Brown's not calling these plays. So I'm sorry. This is coaching. This is 100%. You make decisions like this. You completely abandon the running game. You just start throwing deep like a madman. I don't know what they're doing. I mean.
I don't know what the game plan is. They've had no momentum. It seems like they come out flat like they did against the Giants. And what I was trying to say is I don't think Antonio Brown is affecting the play calling. What I do think is there was some miscommunication on the Brady second interception. It looked like he wanted.
No, I agree with you 100% about what you said. I think you're right about what you said. I think when like it was brought up earlier about you don't bring a player in. That's not the problem here. The problem is you're deciding to just completely radically, and this is what I've said, this offense doesn't have an identity. From week to week, they overthink themselves. I think coaches try to think, they think they're geniuses, and they try to say, okay, we're going to throw out everything we do well just to fool them or something. I don't know what the heck happens. I don't know why coaches do this. They did it last week. You've got all these great players, and who are you throwing to? You're throwing to Jaden Mickens.
Rick, I can say this right now. Coming into this game, if you'd have told me, and of course it's easier in hindsight's 2020, but Harry, if you'd have told me that Chris Godwin was going to be your MVP at halftime with the injury and the fact that Saints are leaving him uncovered, leaving him open underneath, the fact that he's your leading player at halftime says all it needs to say about
how,
the advantage.
yeah, and how in the heck can you name anybody an MVP?
Well,
It's really seriously, it's like this is just brutal. There's nothing for you to grab a hold of and say, okay, this is good. And that's coaching. This is coaching.
Yeah, they're getting out coached right now by Sean Payton. Coming here, and they look like they wanted to win the division tonight, and the Bucs don't. Rick, stand by. We'll get you on the post-game edition of the Sports Web, all right?
You got it, man.
All right, good stuff. All right, so, guys, let me go out to you. I mean, what adjustments you make. I mean, you're down 31-0. I think it comes down to momentum. How do you get that momentum back in the second half?
To you, Harry.
The only adjustments I'm going to say, even though you're down by 30 or 31 points, you got to run the football. And on the defensive side of the game, the DBs need to get up on the line of scrimmage because Drew Brees is still going to try to chuck the ball. The pass rush is getting there, but the problem is they're keeping everything in front of them. You got to disrupt that timing. Get the ball back. Let's pound the rock, and the game's going to open up for Brady. I do not think they're completely out of this game, but I could be wrong.
Will there be a Jameis Winston sighting in the fourth quarter just because they have enough of a lead and they want to get their third string or whatever backup quarterback a little time? Wait and see. Stay tuned.
All I can say is if you're getting to that point, then it's a blowout. So good stuff, guys. Thanks a lot, Tampa Bay, Ray, Kennedy, Harry. We'll get you. We'll see you on post-game edition, all right? All right, guys, so let's come back to you. Adjustment you make in this second half versus the Saints. You got to get on the board, but you got to establish some momentum with your offense. Your offense has not done absolutely nothing. And then on top of it, you're leaving your defense out there. So, of course, they're wearing down. So what do you do?
Well, first off, you have to alleviate your defense with being on the field more times than you are on offense, for starters. And that does help with runs, or you're creating pass plays that are like runs. Vice versa, you have to keep the ball in your offense's hands and get rhythm. Slow down those pass rushers so Tom Brady can get those time to throw the ball. But first and foremost, you got to figure out ways to get these guys open. You got to figure out ways to get these guys in space. And then on defense, you got to put hands on receivers. You got to put your hands on receivers.
You got to be more physical. All right, we'll wrap it up here for the great Blake Anthony, for Tampa Bay, Ray, Kennedy, Harry. I'm your host, Peter Blake, live from the Deck Bar and Grill, powered by 320solar.com. Bucs down 31-0 at halftime against Saints. We'll see you after here on the Sports Web on the post-game edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy the second half of the game.